5th Commission meeting. And if you'd all join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll move right into this. The first agenda item is the commendation of the outgoing Carbon County Attorney and new 7th District Court Judge Jeremiah C. Humes, for Carbon County Commission. Christian, did you want to address this?
Sure. Commissioners, as you know, we've been lucky to have Jeremy Humes as our county attorney for the past several years. He stepped in after Gene Strait retired, and as you know, Gene was here for many years, over 25 years as our county attorney, and Jeremy stepped in and has it was a seamless transition. Jeremy has not only Jeremy has continued the tradition of the county attorney that doesn't simply sit in the office and administer the office, but he maintained a full caseload the entire time he was the county attorney. He handled multiple trials, including some very intense throughout his career here, he's been involved in some very intense trials, murder cases on which he's obtained convictions. He's been a superb trial attorney as well as a superb administrator. And he's been involved in different task forces, different agencies, different community coalitions and groups, where he's tried to lend a helping hand and his expertise in combating the problems that our county has. For example, he's been very involved in trying to help our county residents who have problems with opioid addictions. So while he's prosecuted those cases, he's also done so with an understanding of the human element that's involved, and played that role compassionately and lending his expertise to those community groups that try to help those people before they have to come before there's a legal issue. Jeremy has been an incredible administrator. I think everybody in our office would know that he never raises his voice. He deals with probably the hardest things that are going on in the county, and he does so calmly, professionally, involves others in that, and is a fantastic decision maker. So, of course, for those reasons, he was selected to be our next 7th District Court Judge. Among many applicants who applied, he was wisely the one that Governor Herbert selected to be our next District Court Judge. So while we're going to miss him greatly here in the county, we're going to be very lucky to have him on the bench, where he's going to do a fantastic job. And so, Commissioners, I know you've had the chance to work with him and enjoy his expertise and his personality. And while we'll all miss him, we're very excited for him and for what the future holds for him. So, Commissioners, just with that, he's going to be taking the bench, I believe, this Friday, and that's where we'll see him now in the future, is with a robe on. But it's been a great pleasure for everybody at the county. I think I speak not just for the county attorney's office, but for everybody here at the county to have been able to associate with Jeremy. He's provided expertise to other county departments as well, and personally he's been a great help to me in the work that I've done on the civil side. So we're all grateful we've had our association with him. We're grateful that will continue, just in a different role now. And Commissioners, I'll turn the time back to you to make your presentation.
Okay, did you guys want to say anything, or just?
I'll just echo what Christian said. I've had an opportunity to get to know Jeremy a little bit over the last couple of years, and it's been interesting to hear everything that they deal with on a day in and day out basis, And it's not just a 9-to-5 job. There are many nights when they're working late into the evening, preparing documents, and sometimes getting called early in the morning to prepare a search warrant or something of that nature, so that they can get things handled. And so I really appreciate everything that Jeremy has done, and the attorney's office as well. He's going to be sorely missed. He's got a lot of time and experience here at the county, and appreciate everything he's done.
I echo it all. Jeremy, thank you. You're a good man.
Well, I just would like to say as well that Jeremy is a good person, seen through the neighborhood as well, a great family, great support base that he has. And don't take this wrong, Jeremy, but I hope I don't run into you after in your new career. But if you would come up, we'd like to present you with a little gift.
As usual, so.
It did come with instructions, but I'm sure you can figure it out.
Thank you, Commissioners. I really appreciate the gift. It's been an honor to serve the county. And any of the nice things that were said is only because of the great team in the county attorney's office. I thank Christian and Shelley and John and Dominique and Karen and Lynette and everybody, Jean, everybody in the county attorney's office. It's been a wonderful team, so thank you.
For those who couldn't see it, Commissioner Martinez gave Jeremy a gavel inscribed with his name on it. So that'll be a nice keepsake for Judge Humes.
So now it's official, we can call you Judge?
I'll just run in Friday.
Okay. Thanks, Jeremy.
You know, the only downside to this is we've had now 3 of our attorneys in our local community get appointed to judgeships. We're running out of attorneys. But that speaks to the quality of people that we have in our community, so thank you. Actually, 4 attorneys,
Yeah.
because Bun'll come back.
Well, and Judge Harmon was here. and
Yeah.
Sam Chiara.
There's been a lot from our community
It's a good
appointed to, speaks to the quality of the work you do. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes.
I don't have any corrections.
The only correction that I might have, and I guess it's correct either way, but on the January 15th set of minutes, item number 8, it says ECDC, but the contract was with Republic Services. I don't know if we want to change it to from Republic Services, or from ECDC to Republic Services. I think everybody commonly knows it as the same thing, but that might be a suggestion.
You know, I did notice one thing too, Lori, on page 7, the 3rd paragraph, there's a comment there about 1,320 square feet. I believe that's linear feet.
Any other items?
And on that one, I'll make the motion. We accept the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second that.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item number 3 is the update regarding the Brownfield grant.
We have two sets of minutes.
Oh,
The
okay,
November
so
20th.
So we'll back up. So which one are we approving then?
November 20th,
So that was the,
public hearing.
Okay. So we have a motion, a second. That one's approved. So I need motion on the January 15th minutes.
so my correction was for the January 15th.
Right.
Okay,
So
so I'll make a motion to approve those with that correction, with the corrections.
which one, the
The
January?
January 15th, if we approved, which one did we approve last?
I was looking at January 15th
So
to
was I.
begin with, so that one's
So-
approved.
That one's
So-
approved?
Okay, so a motion for the November 20th minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the November 20th minutes.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So we're good on the minutes. Now we'll go to item number 3. The update regarding the Brownfield grant from Dave Laney.
Thank you. My name is Dave Laney. I work for Stantec Consulting. I'll be giving you a brief status report on where we stand with the Brownfield grant that was awarded to Carbon County. I don't know if it makes sense to dim the lights so the commissioners can see the slides, but I think that might be useful if that's possible. Sure, not a problem. So back in April of 2018, a grant of $600,000 was awarded to the county from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. This was a Brownfield community-wide assessment grant. And the application, while submitted by Carbon County, actually included a coalition that had the cities of Helper, Price, Wellington, and East Carbon as coalition members. It's a 3-year grant. The money came in October of 2018. The money will be available provided it's not spent through September of 2021. The good thing about these grants are there's no matching funds that are required by the county. It's also good to note that these grant funds can be used for properties that are impacted by both petroleum and hazardous substances, but a brownfield is any site that where the use or reuse or expansion is complicated due to the presence or perceived presence of contaminants. So EPA wrote these definitions pretty broadly, and as you'll see as I go through this, there are a lot of properties that have no contamination whatsoever that can still use the funds if the property owners are looking to either sell or do some sort of rehabilitation or renovation on buildings. The last thing is this grant can be used for publicly owned properties and privately owned properties. Essentially, this program, the Property Site Reuse and Revitalization Program, is an effort to identify, plan for, and provide funding and technical assistance to property owners who want to reuse or redevelop their property. The emphasis is on vacant, abandoned, underutilized, and sometimes contaminated property. EPA itself estimates that about 30% of the properties that go through this program don't have contamination that's of concern, and no action is required. But the goal is to try to get properties into the program that will increase economic development, workforce development, act as a catalyst for new and future development, and also encourage public support for new and future land use. In addition to myself and the staff that we have in Salt Lake City, Jones and DeMille is on the project team, Commissioner Hopes and Rita Vigor represent the county, and then all of the mayors in the cities that I mentioned are active participants. So just very briefly, the way the program works, a property owner nominates their site and they send the site nomination form that they get at the website that's listed here to Rita at the county. This is a very simple form. It's about 2 pages. Front page just has basic information, address, owner name, date of purchase, that kind of thing. The second page lists what the property is used for now, what it was used for previously, and whether or not there's a buyer or a developer that's interested in it, and thus assessments are time critical. Then the sites that are nominated are reviewed by a Brownfield Advisory Committee, which consists of stakeholders representing each of the coalition communities. They have a series of criteria that they use to look at the properties to prioritize which properties get assessed first. Economic development, workforce development, in just about every case is number one. I think maybe in Helper, they picked historic preservation is number one and economic development is number two. But the idea is that properties that meet the criteria that I mentioned before as far as being useful for improving economic development, creating jobs, and bringing in business, those are the ones that the Brownfield Advisory Committee prioritizes as the ones that should be assessed first. Once the Brownfield Advisory Committee makes its recommendations, the oops, hang on a second. The properties then go to EPA if the property has hazardous substances like asbestos or lead-based paint in a building, something like that. They go to the state of Utah, the Utah Department of Environmental Quality if there's potential petroleum contamination on the site, and that's because the state of Utah has a underground storage tank program where they regulate gasoline that's dispersed using underground storage tanks. Essentially, EPA and the state of Utah are looking to see whether or not there's a court order that requires a court or an administrative order that requires cleanup on the property, in which case the properties are not eligible. The other thing that the state of Utah looks for is whether or not the property owner may have contributed to any contamination that's there. So, for example, a major oil company would not be eligible to apply for an assessment on their gas station using this fund. There's 2 or 3 different kinds of assessments that get done at that point. Once EPA and the state approve the site is eligible, a Phase 1 environmental site assessment is just a records review, looking at historical aerial photographs, interviewing property owners, that kind of thing. A Phase 2 environmental site assessment occurs if a recognized environmental condition is found during the Phase 1, and the Phase 2 includes collection and analysis of samples. For buildings, we do a regulated building material survey, which includes looking for asbestos and lead-based paint, and in some cases, things like mercury light switches and other items that would be considered a hazardous waste if pulled out of the building. This grant will also pay for site-specific cleanup planning. So if the property needs it and an owner wants it, the grant will allow us to put together a plan that has several different options for cleanup, including the cost and time for each of those options. And the property owner gets that, and then they can make the decision about how they want to proceed. I do want to stress here, though, that this is not an enforcement program. It's one of the few programs that EPA has where the property owner does not have to do anything with the property once they get the assessment report. I've been doing this for a long time, and probably in less than a handful of cases has EPA ever come after anybody and said, you really need to take care of something. And that's only when the property represents a situation that's immediately dangerous to life and health. So they don't come out, they don't call you, they don't send you something that says you need to take action. It's entirely up to the property owner what they want to do with the information. So these are the steps. shown on this slide here. The one thing that's important here is once cleanup occurs, or once a phase 2 or a regulated building material survey is completed, property owner can, if they want, enter the State of Utah Voluntary Remediation Program and get a no further action letter from the State of Utah that says they don't have to take any additional action. The site is fine as is, which is something that makes a big difference to developers and new businesses at times. So that's an option, and Utah Department of Environmental Quality has said that they are more than willing to issue those to any brownfield properties that are assessed with this grant. The last thing I want to mention is area-wide planning. Sometimes communities or even whole counties opt to use some of the funds for an area-wide plan. And in the case of this grant, there are 2 area-wide plans that are budgeted, each for about $30,000. Those can be things like a market analysis to look at what businesses and market sectors currently exist in the county or in the communities, and what needs to be done, say, over the next 5 years to enhance business attraction and business retention. In the case of a plan like that, we put together an economic development roadmap that would say for each of the next 5 years what needs to be done to improve conditions in a particular market or business sector. Cleanup funding is not available with this particular grant, but there are some options. There's a revolving loan fund grant that EPA makes available. It's $1 million and can be spent over the next 5 years. It's for loans to property owners who want to clean up their property. These are low interest loans. It can be 1 or 2% interest, very low interest. And the grantee can actually forgive the interest on some loans if the folks who get those indicate that they have a financial hardship or are unable to pay it back. The county actually applied for this grant in December of last year, and EPA will announce awards in June of this year. So we're hopeful that the county will get this funding. It will help with the other grant as far as getting property owners to sign up for assessments. But it is pretty difficult. It's a nationally competitive grant. There are only 8 that are awarded every year. As far as what we've done so far, we've held public meetings. We have a webpage on the county website. There are a number of fact sheets that have been developed. We've done preliminary site inventory for the county to identify brownfield properties. But at the end of the day and at the end of the grant, what EPA looks at is how many sites got assessed. And so far, 13 sites have been nominated for assessment. That include 5 in Helper, 5 in Price, 4 in Helper, 3 in Wellington, 1 in East Carbon. 7 of those sites EPA has determined were eligible. 2 sites they said were ineligible, and property owners on the other 4 sites either withdrew them or have not yet signed access agreements, and we're actively working with a few of those property owners to get them to agree to sign the access agreement so we can go forward with the assessment. Right now, one Phase 1 environmental site assessment has been completed on a property owned by Utah State University Eastern and City of Price. We also have approval from EPA for 1 Phase 2 environmental site assessment on that property, as well as 3 regulated building material surveys on buildings in Price, Wellington, and East Carbon. And the site in Wellington is the Wellington City Hall. So, if we do the assessment there, we're going to try to help them find money for a new city hall, which I think would be a wonderful outcome of this grant. The regulated building material surveys that I mentioned, the 3 that have been approved, will be completed at the end of this month. The Phase 2 will be completed at the end of next month. Right now, we've spent about 21% of the grant, but we're about 16 months into the 36-month grant, the 3-year grant. So we're behind where we should be as far as the rate at which the money's being spent. And I would say over the next 20 months, we'll need to do assessments about twice as fast, or do twice as many assessments as what we've been doing up to this time. Which leads me to the very last thing I want to say, and that is how do we improve what we've done to date, and how do we do better in the future so that we can spend this money by the end of the grant period and maybe apply for another grant with EPA, because that is one of the criteria that they use for determining who gets grants, is whether or not the last grants were spent well. Obviously, there's a few things, I shouldn't say obviously, there are a few things that we can do to the web page that we currently have. I would like to see some pictures on it. It's all text right now. It's pretty boring, and it's a little hard to get to. Like when you first go on the county website, you don't know that there's a program for free site property assessments for property owners that's available. You have to go through the economic development menu item to get to that section that talks about the grant. So that could be improved. I think it would also be useful to issue 1 or 2 press releases at this time. The Commissioner Hopes worked with us to put out one when we had the public meetings last year. But some county coalitions that I work with who have these grants put out a press release saying we have a website that's now available for property owners to get access to these to this grant money for free assessments, and here's the URL. I mean, it's a very simple thing, but if it's not out there in the general public, nobody really knows about it. So some things like that would be helpful. Right now, we're putting together, or we have put together, some handouts and flyers, and I'm encouraging all the mayors to put those at City Hall and in their libraries and things like that. Right now, only Helper and Wellington have taken me up on that, but I'm meeting with Mayor Corianis here in Price tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon with Mayor Avery. So I think we'll get there. But if there's nothing out there for the general public to see, they don't know that the program's available. Another thing that would be helpful is to encourage the mayors to designate another individual to be the point person for this. I love them all dearly. They're great folks, and they work really hard at what they do. But, they are so busy that sometimes they miss several successive calls. They've got other things that come up. Or they make the call, but they forget to mention to a group of property owners about they've got a meeting, and that's not the topic of discussion, and they forget to kind of tack this on to the end. So having another person like somebody who's responsible for planning, economic development, things like that in some of the cities, and have them attend some of the calls and some of the meetings, particularly when the mayors can't participate, I think would be a really good thing. There are a lot of success stories in Utah of other communities that have had these grants and have dramatically increased their economic development as a result of being able to use these monies. So I would like to invite, and I think the state of Utah will help with this, some of those folks to come to Carbon County and maybe put on some presentations. Maybe we can get 2 or 3 of them together in one meeting and have businesses and property owners and bankers and real estate folks come and listen and see how it's being done elsewhere. I think we'll also have some success stories after this month or next month where we will have completed all the assessments on 4 properties, and hopefully those will either be sold or they'll be redeveloped. And we can put together a newsletter and send that out to everyone who attended the public meetings and to, again, property owners, real estate professionals, that kind of thing, so that people can see what's going on here and get the idea that the program does work. Finally, Commissioner Hopes asked, how can we spend more money? How can we spend it differently if necessary, so that we get on track to work our way through the entire grant by the time we're out of time. And one thing is to, I think, aggressively decide on what those 2 area-wide plans are going to be and get started on those, developing those. They could, again, they could be countywide, they could be for a specific city who's a coalition member, but those tend to spur development and interest in an area once they're completed. And then we could do some work with incentives for property owners, and I'm not talking financial. I mean, it'd be great if the county had money and said, you know, here's $500 for every property owner that signed up for this program. But what I am thinking is that it would be useful perhaps to tell the property owners, if you're interested, we can put together a portfolio of properties that go through the program, and we can elevate that with developers, new businesses, folks that are moving to Carbon County that want a certified clean site, or they want a site that's been assessed, and they don't, you know, they don't know how to go about finding those. That would kind of put your property a little bit ahead of other properties that are out there. And you know, if property owners know that that's something that is available for them, then they might be willing to sign up for assessments more readily. This is just the schedule. I have copies of this that I'll give to the commissioners when I'm done, but that's about it. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. I do have, it's not a question, it's more, I have a number for one of the properties that we've been talking about. I do have a number for you to, I've tried to call them a couple times and they just haven't answered. I've left messages, but I'll pass that along to you for one of the properties that we're trying to get the access to.
I think another one you're talking about. And yeah, I'm more than happy to meet with any property owners and answer any questions or address any concerns they have.
Okay.
I've got access agreements actually from Wellington and Old Carbon, for the Old Carbon Medical Building in East Carbon, for you guys to sign, somebody from the county to sign, because those property owners just signed them in the last week or so, and they're ready to go. So we're scheduling folks to be in those buildings as soon as possible, doing the assessments.
That's great.
Thank you.
Well, Dave, we appreciate it. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Dave. I think this is a great opportunity for our community if we can, those that have the property can see the vision that this is not a bad thing. This is to help them move their property if they're wanting to sell it.
And it's, you know, one thing I didn't mention, but it's always important for property owners to know, if you go to a bank and you're trying to get a loan to finance a purchase of a property or to do renovation on your property, they're going to want to know, where's your phase 1 environmental site assessment, or can you prove to me you don't have asbestos in that building, or you've taken care of what was there. And this is a way for property owners to get that information, get those answers without having to spend their own money. So.
And I guess one clarification might be that a phase 1 has a shelf life. 6 months, 3 months, I can't remember what the
6 months.
6 months. And then you have to have another one. You can extend it for up to a year?
Yeah, after a year you have to have a new one. This grant, in some instances where I'm working with other coalitions, it's paid for 2 or 3 phase 1s. The property owner says, I'm going to sell next week. It ends up being, a year and a week. And every time we do the phase 1, we do an update or we do a new phase 1 on the same property, it's like half the cost of the first time around.
Right.
But EPA says, as long as somebody's really interested in selling or doing something with their property, we'll pay for updates if that's necessary. But you're right, 180 days or 6 months, and then your phase 1 expires. So that is a limitation.
And I guess that's important for business owners, that they may have already done one, but not realizing that it has a shelf life, and this will pay for an update
Yeah.
to do another phase 1. The phase 2s are good for as long
More or less
as
indefinitely, yeah.
indefinitely. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the case with some of the property owners who've had their sites nominated and deemed eligible by EPA. They may have had a phase 1 10 years ago or 5 years ago. They said, we've done that, we don't have to do it again. Well, unfortunately you do, and this is a way for you to get it for free. And if you did it before and you haven't done anything significant with your property, it'll come up with the same results, but it'll have 2020 as the date on it, and so you can take that to the bank, literally.
That's great.
okay, thank you.
We'll move on to item number 4, which is the presentation of the PILT payment from the Utah Division of Wildlife from Chris Wood.
Good evening. I'm Chris Wood. I'm the regional supervisor for the southeastern region for the Division of Wildlife Resources. And I come here every year about this time and deliver our PILT payment to the county. So our PILT payment is payment in lieu of taxes, and it's for the 25,891 acres that we own here in Carbon County. The check I'm delivering today is for $9,239.57. I just wanted to present that, but also maybe discuss real quickly what our properties entail. Most of the acreage is at our Gordon Creek Wildlife Management Area, which is on Consumers Road, past the railroad tracks there. From there all the way until the mountain, all those foothills area. It's mule deer winter range and elk winter range, and we have some turkeys and other wildlife species out there. But we own that. We also own the Lower Fish Creek property, just below Schofield Dam. That's 7,547 acres. And then we have a property called Cold Spring on the West Havaputs, and that's 2,689 acres. And so these properties we own and manage for the citizens of Carbon County and for the citizens of Utah. Our agency is funded through hunting and fishing license sales, and so we love to have those property be used for hunting and fishing. And the PILT payment I'll deliver today is paid for through those hunting and fishing license sales. We appreciate the partnership we have with Carbon County. There's a lot of things we partner on. We appreciate your efforts and our work together on the Giotti Pond and the Wellington Pond, and also the pond at the fairgrounds. Those are popular fisheries that allow citizens to go a few miles from their home and have a good family fishing opportunity. I also wanted to quickly point out that we actively participate in habitat restoration work with our federal partners and state partners and nonprofit groups. In the last 15 years, through the Watershed Restoration Initiative, we've restored almost 33,000 acres in Carbon County. And those projects include removing pinyon and juniper trees, chainings, prescribed fires, bullhog work, water development projects, things like that. And so with our federal partners and with nonprofit groups, sportsman groups, private landowners, we all pull our resources together and we're able to implement habitat projects for the benefit of wildlife. We recognize that Carbon County residents love wildlife. They love mule deer and elk specifically, and we want to make sure they have opportunities to recreate on our lands and have good hunting opportunities with their families. So I can answer any questions if you'd like. If not, I'll just drop off this check and be on my way.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What you guys
Appreciate it.
do.
Thank you.
I was just going to add, this is Makita Hansen, Division of Wildlife Habitat Manager. We're working on our Gordon Creek Wildlife Management Area Habitat Management Plan right now, and so we'll be bringing that to the county in the next couple months so you guys can review that. So just so you're aware.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 5 on the agenda is the consideration and possible approval of the intergenerational poverty grant. Christian?
Yeah, commissioners, this is The modification on this one is just an increase in funds. So the current contract amount is $75,000. The contract started back in September of 2018, and this extends it through June 30th of 2020, and increases the amounts to be paid in the amount by $14,486. So the new contract amount is going to be $89,486. The purpose of the grant basically is to provide help to families experiencing intergenerational poverty, and specifically with families who have children between the ages of 7 to 17. The county partners with Future in Design to provide workforce development training for youth. It provides services through the Circles program to increase the kids' ability to succeed in the future. The grant helps us develop an outreach strategy to target families likely experiencing intergenerational poverty. So it doesn't really require anything additional that I can see from us, other than it gives us some more money to continue the program and do what's already being done.
There's a little money left over, and rather than the state taking it back, they've split that up among the counties that participate in this. So it will help move it forward. So if there's no questions, I'll make a motion that we approve the intergenerational poverty grant.
I'll second that.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item number 6 is a public hearing for input regarding the mental health and substance use disorder treatment needs in Carbon County. Karen Dolan, the Executive Director of Four Corners Community Behavior Health, Inc. Karen?
Hello. So I'm Karen Dolan. I'm the Director of Four Corners, and Kara Cunningham is the Program Director over Carbon County Services. So Utah statute and the Department of Health asks us to have a hearing every year to get input from the community members, and we use this input in our planning and our grant writing for the next year. So I guess we'll open it up to comments.
Okay. We'll go ahead and open up a public hearing at, what is that, 5:12?
Hi, my name is Larry Nash. I'm a Price resident and a Carbon County Drug Court participant. Four Corners and Drug Court has been an awesome crutch for me to use to help me get my life back on track. Every single one of them has played a part. They taught me that it's okay to ask for help when I need help. It's okay to do. Another thing is that they remind me that it's okay to fill my my brain with new, more positive memories to push back the negative memories that I've created in my past. So with that, I just want to say thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Angie Trescott, and I go to Four Corners. They've helped me with managing my money. I go to the New Heights Clubhouse. They help me manage my money. They help me with my groceries. They take us grocery shopping. They take us to the food bank. They help us with our day-to-day, everyday living. It's been a positive experience for me. I've been there since 2009, and it's been a real good help for me because I have major depression and anxiety, and so it's been a really good place for me to be. They help me with housing. They help me with a lot of things. So.
Thank you.
My name is Dino Poulos. I have a history of mental illness. and I belong to the New Heights Clubhouse. I'm a member there for approximately 15 years. We've been through a lot of different hands, people working there through the years. The same mold still exists, that we learn our skills in different units we work in. And we basically got 2 units, the kitchen unit and the other unit. They teach us skills there, and they help us with our money. And if we need any therapy and stuff like that, they arrange it for us. And I'm part of the can-do crew working cleaning the clinic, and we get paid for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gary Daniels. I'm a Price resident. I'm also a drug court participant. I started the program about a year and a half ago. Since then, I've gained full employment the whole time. I've got custody of my son back. I've put my life behind me, and that's all thanks to the groups I've attended at Four Corners. They've taught me a lot of very useful tools, and I thank them for another chance at my life. So they've done a lot for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Rodney Ney, and I'm also a resident of Carbon County and a drug court participant. I've been in the program probably longer than most. I had a severe addiction. I'm 53 years old, and I am so grateful that this community and county has something that can affect my life and others in a dramatic way. I've learned how to set goals to change my life. I'm full-time employed. I've bought 4 cars since I've been in the drug court program. I used to be such a passive person, I never had a voice, and they taught me how to speak to let people know how I feel, what I think, and what I need, and to be a participant of my community. And I'm grateful for drug court because they changed my entire life. Now I'm an advocate for my children because I have children that are suffering from the same thing. And from the example I'm setting that I've learned from drug court, my oldest son has moved to Kansas and got sober and has become a full-time welder. So the program is tremendous for the people that are participating, and I'm a full-fledged advocate for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any others that would like to speak? Seeing no others, we will go ahead and close this public hearing at 5:17. 5:17. Okay. Go ahead.
I might just mention I have an opportunity to rub shoulders with those at Four Corners and with Karen and her staff, and there's no question that the services they provide to those in our community who really can use the help is just invaluable, and all of the employees are so kind and helpful, and many times they get blamed for all the problems as a health or as a resource. Many of the problems are really hard to fix, but thank you. I personally see the good you do, and thank you for everything.
I would just echo that. With the Carbon Emery Opioid Coalition, we've had an opportunity to work with several of our community partners like Four Corners, and it's making a difference. It's changing the dialogue and helping people to go through the recovery process. It's getting them the help that they need. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Karen. We'll move along to item number 7, the discussion and possible action, resale or disposition of the Carbon County tax parcel number 01-2610.
Commissioners, I've received an inquiry about whether the county would be willing to sell this piece of property. And so that's really in your discretion. It's less than an acre-sized piece. So I don't believe it's a parcel, what the state statute would deem to be a parcel of significant value or of significance. It looks like it's not used by us currently for anything unless you're aware of something else. So it's a vacant piece of property out there. A neighboring landowner is interested in buying it. Our ordinance regarding these kinds of properties don't require us to get an appraisal, but we are required to give notice to adjoining landowners about our proposed method of disposing of it. You could dispose of it either by, if you decide to, you don't have to dispose of it. You could just simply decide you're going to keep hold of it and hold on to it forever and wait and see if you have a future use of it, or decide. So you're under no obligation, of course, to sell it just because somebody's asked for it. But when these inquiries do come up, sometimes I think it's appropriate for us to look at our inventory of those properties. So you could sell it through a realtor if you wanted. You could sell it, you could tag it on to the end of the May tax sale if you wanted and sell it auction style just like the other tax sale properties at that time. You could put a bid in the paper, a notice in the paper, and indicate you want to sell it that way. You could table this indefinitely or put it back on an agenda later to consider. But I thought I'd bring it to your attention and let you make a decision as to what, if anything, you want to do about it at this point.
Do we need to decide on how we're going to move forward, either tax sale or does that need to be decided tonight?
No, no, you don't need to decide anything tonight. In fact, you could just say, well, we're not going to decide on it, or let's visit it again in a couple months after we've gone out and looked at it. But what we do need to do is, if you decide you're going to dispose of it, then you need to make public the manner by which you're going to dispose of it. And you need to make a finding that it is in the county's best interest to dispose of it. So, for example, I don't see that it's adjoining any other county property. I do happen to know that we received it from a prior tax sale. So the county acquired it when it was struck off to the county after there were no bidders at a tax sale. So that's how the county got it. So it doesn't appear to have ever been obtained for the purpose of the county doing anything specific with it. It just came to us because somebody didn't pay their taxes and there was no buyer at a tax sale.
I kind of would like to look at it close and weigh options with the potential of, there's no question we probably don't want to hang on to it, but just so we got a good plan moving forward. So I'd like to not make a decision tonight, but look at it and maybe put this decision off until our next meeting, or if we
My suggestion would be we tentatively put it on the agenda for maybe a month out. Give yourselves at least a full month to look at it. Yes, who knows how accessible it is right now anyway with snow and mud and whatnot, but maybe we could go a month out, commissioners, put it on the agenda, and then if you're still not ready, we could pull it off and put it on again later. But I think it's a good idea to tentatively place it on the agenda so we keep track of it.
Okay. I'll make a motion to table until whatever the next meeting, in a month away. Till March 4th.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 8 is a closed session to discuss the character or professional competency of an individual pursuant to the UCA 52-4-205.
And commissioners, we do need Barry to stay in for this one.
Okay. I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second that.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Have you liked